everybody, I'm back. So today I'm gonna get on here and tell you guys about my labor and delivery story. Um, it's definitely a crazy one. If you hear baby noises, she's in her sling, kind of waking up. So I might have to get her in a minute. But I'm gonna just get on here and tell you guys about my labor and delivery story. Now, I do want to let you guys know that every labor is different. Just because it happened to me doesn't mean it's gonna happen to you. So please do not be scared, because it's definitely, for me, it was a traumatic experience. Because it was my first time, I didn't know what to expect. So let's get into it. So it was Friday, April 21st, and I had woken up, went to get up and do my normal routine that I do every single morning. So I get up and I feel like this gush of water, and I'm like, okay, either A, my water just broke because I'm 38 weeks pregnant, or B, I just peed myself, because at that stage, it was like, if I have to pee, I need to go to the bathroom right then and there, because otherwise I'm going. So I get up and, like I said, the liquid, we'll call it liquid at this time, the liquid just kind of gushed out. So I go upstairs and I brush my teeth and I'm still leaking. So I'm like, okay, maybe I just have a lot of fluid in me. So maybe I just need to pee. Like maybe my bladder is just uncontrollable right now. So I go to the bathroom and then I come into the kitchen to where I take my medicine. So, and at this time, like, I'm still leaking and I'm like, okay, I don't think this is pee. I think it's my water that broke. So I call my mom and I'm like, hey, I think my water just broke. Come get me in like 30 minutes. I need a shower, get me and the baby's stuff ready. Like, I think it's time. So she picks me up. We get everything loaded into the car. And on the way to the hospital, I was still leaking. So I told myself, I was like, okay, I'm going to put on some protection, like a pad, so that way I'm not leaking all over me and my mom's car. So all the way to the hospital, I was leaking. We got to the hospital and I'm like, we'll just leave the bags in the car. Like, I want to get checked in. I want to get checked out. Like, we don't need to worry about them right now. So we get up to the 5th floor where the maternity center was, and there was nobody at the front desk, like absolutely nobody. Now, there was a couple people in the waiting room. I don't know if they were waiting for somebody to give birth or if they were just visiting, but they were waiting there and they're like, you need to get help now, so press that button. And I didn't see the button because I was so worried about if I was going to leak on this hospital floor. So the lady comes and she basically checks me in, asks me a couple of questions. So they take me back. And they're like, okay, we're gonna have you change into this gown. They hook me up to the monitors, and they're like, we're gonna test the fluid that's coming out of you to see if it's your amniotic fluid or if it's just pee. So they did the one test, and like 10 minutes later, it came back negative that it was my water that broke. So they're like, I don't think you're peeing this much because that's a lot of fluid that's coming out. So they sent 4 more tests and they all came back negative that it was my amniotic fluid, which was my water. So they're like, we're going to do an ultrasound to see if we can measure how much fluid is in your belly. So it took like an hour because I gave birth in West Des Moines at the Methodist in West Des Moines, and the ultrasound tech had to come from downtown. So it took them like an hour to come. So the ultrasound tech comes in, they do the ultrasound. Now, at this point, I had no idea what I was looking at. Like, I couldn't see your head, I couldn't see your hands, I couldn't see nothing. Like, they were trying to put it out to me. I was like, I can't see anything. So, now, with the ultrasound, they hadn't done one since I was 20 weeks because they said unless there's a medical reason, they will not do a ultrasound. So they didn't really know how much liquid I've had in my belly because they didn't do that ultrasound. So they're like, there's not that much fluid in your belly. So they went and told the ultrasound tech went and told the nurse that, and the nurse came in and was like, okay, we're just going to start you on Pitocin. Like, we don't want to send you home. And I was like, I don't want to go home leaking this much fluid because A, that's not normal. Like, this is not like an everyday go to the bathroom. Like, it's a lot of fluid coming out of me. And it's not good for the baby to be in my belly if there's like little to no liquid. So they start me on Pitocin around 3. And it was like 12 when I got checked into the hospital, like got all of the tests and stuff done. And then it was about 1:30, 2 o'clock when the ultrasound tech came in. Now, Richard was still at work because I was like, I don't know if they're going to admit me. I don't know if they're going to send me home. I don't know what's going to happen right now. You finish the day at work because nothing's going to happen like in 2.5 seconds. So at this time, it was 3 o'clock when the doctor came in, and she was like, okay, we're going to start you on Pitocin. They got me started on Pitocin, and they just basically said, let's get the ball rolling. So I don't know if my water broke. I don't know if they induced me. To this day, I don't know. So they started me on Pitocin. They said that they were going to come in. I think it was either every 15 minutes or every 30 minutes that they were going to come in and up the dose of my Pitocin. So they did that for a while, and Richard got to the house. So he got off of work and he went to the house because he didn't have his bag packed. And I told him, you need to pack your bag because I'm very close to giving birth, because the week when I went to the hospital, so I went into the hospital Friday and I had my 38-week appointment on that Wednesday. So when I went in, they were like, okay, you're 2 centimeters dilated, so it can happen today, it can happen tomorrow, it can happen in 3 weeks, it can happen 4, we don't know. So I was like, you need to pack your bag. He never did. So he went home, packed his bag really quick, let the dog out. I don't think he took a shower. Let the dog out, and he came up to the hospital. So he came up to the hospital, and by then it's like 4:30. So I would say I was about I was like 3 centimeters dilated at that time, excuse me. And like at that point, I didn't feel really anything. It was just more of like a tightening in my belly rather than pain. So once I started getting into pain, I was like, I can't lay in this bed anymore. I need to get up. I need to get moving. So they got me up, and I was kind of rocking back and forth, kind of leaning on the bed. That wasn't like, it was helping, but I needed to do something else. So they got me this big giant ball that I could bounce on. So I was bouncing on the ball, and they said that would help me contract. So I was bouncing on the ball for quite a while. But I don't know if they said that the baby's heart rate was lowering, or because I don't think they were able to calculate her heartbeat on the monitor that I was on. So they were like, we need to get you back in bed so we can get baby back on the monitor. So I get back in bed, and by this time I'm in pain. Like it was more than a period cramp, but it wasn't anything where I was like, oh my gosh, I can't do this, epidural please. So I would say, they were coming every 2 to 3 minutes. It was definitely tolerable that I could handle. But then, like, in a snap of fingers, my contractions were like this on the screen. Like, there was no breaks, nothing. Like, once one contraction got done, another one was starting, and they were painful. So at this time, it's like 8:30, 9 o'clock, and I'm like, okay, I need the epidural. Now, my OB was going to come at 10 p.m. to see if we needed to break my water or if it had already broken. So I was like, let's call the anesthesiologist, get him on the way, because it took like 30 minutes to an hour for him to come. So by the time the anesthesiologist was there, it was like 9:45. They did the epidural, which I was so scared of the epidural. I was like, this is going to hurt so bad. I'm having contractions. Like, I'm not going to be able to stay still. I was like, oh goodness. Like, I didn't want to be in the middle of a contraction and while he's doing my epidural and like paralyze me or anything. So I just really tried to remain calm. And just, let myself know that, it's just pain. I'll get over it for the meantime. This epidural was going to help, and it was going to relieve me. So once he did the epidural, the nurse, my OB came in, and I was like 6 centimeters at this point. No, I was at a 4. Because I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't make it any further to a 4. But when I tell you my contractions were every single second of every single minute, I mean it. So my OB comes in, and she breaks my water, which it hadn't broken all the way, so they don't know if there was like a tear in it or if it just, we don't know. So once she does that, she basically told me, like, the epidural is supposed to be, taking effect, I'll come back and check you. Like, if you feel any pressure, if you, experience any more pain, let me know. So about 10 minutes after my OB leaves the room, not even that. So once the anesthesiologist got done with my epidural, I felt everything on my right side. I didn't feel anything on my left side. On my right side, it was just a little pinch. So I was like, this is better than what I've been experiencing, so I'm going to toughen it out. Wrong. 15 minutes later, I felt everything from my right side, from my left side, everywhere. I felt all of the pain. And now they still had me on Pitocin, so I was contracting every single second. Like, no breaks, nothing. Once one contraction got over, another one was starting, and it was horrible. So I tell my nurse, I'm like, hey, like, I can't bear this pain. Like, my blood pressure was high. I was sweating. I was hyperventilating. Like, I was crying. There was no way. So she comes in and she has me on all fours. So she has me on my elbows and she has me on my knees. And then she has like a peanut pillow on my butt, resting my butt on the pillow. So I'm doing that and I'm kind of rocking back and forth. I'm still in pain, but on all fours, it really helped me. So I was still in pain, so the nurse was like, let's play tug of war with a sheet. So my mom has one end and the nurse has another, and they were just kind of doing this on like my butt / my lower back. So they were doing this, and that relieved the pain so much. Like, I was able to sleep. I was able to, basically, get some sleep, get some rest, not be in so much pain, and kind of calm down before, I was ready to push. So they do that, and they told me that I needed to flip over because my blood pressure at this point was really high. So they said that I needed to flip back over and lay on my back. So they had me lay on my back, and they were like, well, you're about 7 centimeters now, so they had me sit up straight. And they were like, this kind of like brings the baby down into your pelvis. This will help kind of get your cervix opening. Excuse me. Oh my God. So I get in that like sitting up straight position for about an hour and a half, and I like fall asleep. So I wake up. It's about, I would say, like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning at this point on the Saturday. So April 22nd it is now. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I have so much pressure in my pelvis. Like, I feel like I'm going to poop myself. So I call my nurse because I've always heard, like, if you feel like you're going to poop, it's time. So I call my nurse and she comes in and checks me. And she was like, I don't feel no cervix. It's time to push. So she went and got, like, all of her, not utensils, girl, like all of her stuff that she needed to help me kind of push before she called the OB. So she was like, I'm going to have you push, but once I tell you to stop, you need to stop, because I get you to a certain point and then we stop, and then your OB comes in and takes over. So I'm pushing for an hour and a half, like nonstop. I still felt everything. Like, at this point, I feel it all. So I'm like, I can't do this. Like, I give up. Like, I am in so much pain. Like, I was so tired. And she's like, you're almost there. And I didn't want a mirror to see like down there, but I feel like after I had this experience, I feel like it would have helped out a lot. So like in the baby warmer, there was like a piece of like plastic, and I could see about this much of of where she's coming out of. So once I would push, I would see her head a little bit, and then she would go back in. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I'm not getting anywhere. Like, there's no way. So I push, like, I'm giving it all my, strength, my energy. I'm giving it all right now. So I push one more time, and she's like, okay, you need to stop. She's right there. So she calls my OB, and like 5 seconds later, like 3 nurses come in, 2 other people, the OB, everybody like swarms in my room. And I'm like, oh no, like, this is happening. I'm pushing a baby out, and like close to soon. So my OB comes in, and she's getting gowned up. She's putting her gloves on and stuff, and she goes, okay, push. So I push, and she's like, okay, stop. So when she said stop, she said it in kind of like a worried way. So I stopped. I was freaking out, and she goes, I don't need you to push anymore. If you feel a contraction, you need to kind of grunt it out and kind of, do the so I was doing that, and at this time the baby was stuck in my pelvic bone. So as much as I pushed, as much as strength as I gave it, she wasn't coming out because she was stuck. So I was laying down, and they put my legs behind my head, and the OB goes in like this and pulls the baby out. Mind you, this hurt so bad. Like, I felt every single burn. I felt every single, tear, rip, everything. I felt it all. So they take her out, they put her on my chest, and she's not crying. And I'm like, why is she not crying? So they're like, well, we're going to take her over to the warmer. Like, she's kind of cold. So they go over, then they warm her up, and they kind of like suck out the stuff in her mouth and nose. And I hear her cry. And like, hearing her cry, it was the most rewarding, most loving thing I've ever felt in my life. Like, once they put her on my chest, it was love at first sight. Like, I fell so deeply in love with her. And as soon as they put her on my chest, she just looked at me. And she didn't cry. She didn't do nothing. She just, like, blank stared, looked at me. Like, there's my mom. Like, I've been waiting to meet you. And I didn't cry because I think I was so tired and I was so, like, out of the zone. Like, I didn't realize what had just happened. So they put her on my chest, for an hour, and we tried to breastfeed, and she latched right away. Like, I was so thankful that she latched. So she latched, and I breastfed her, and, they just started cleaning me up. They pushed on my belly. So once I delivered her, they pushed on my belly to deliver my placenta. They didn't tell me that they were doing that. So here I am. My mom's over with the baby. Richard's over with the baby. And my dad's sitting on the couch. Oh, I didn't tell you guys. Okay, back it up. So when I did my tour with the hospital, they said that I could have dad of the baby and 2 other people. Cool. I'm going to have the baby, my baby's father, my mom, and my dad. I wanted my mom and dad in there so bad. Once I got checked into the room, the nurse that took me back was like, no, dad and another person. So I started freaking out. I started crying. Like, I wanted my dad in there so bad because, once I had the tour, and once, was told by my OB that we could have dad and 2 other people in there, like, I told him, like, you're going to be in the room. So he was so excited that he got to be in the room to see his granddaughter be born. But the nurse told me, she was like, no, we can't do that. Like, it's dad and 1 other person. So I had a full-blown panic attack. Now, in the meantime, it was nurse switch. So the nurse that came in and helped me, through my labor, through my birth, she was amazing. Rachel at Methodist West, she was awesome. Like, she always was there. She was, always helping me. She was rubbing my butt. She was so motivational. Like, she was like, you can do this. You're doing so good. Like, amazing. She was like, no, like, you can have dad and 2 other people. Dad doesn't count, so you can have 2 people in the room. And I was like, well, that's what I thought. So I called my dad, and I was like, hey, you can come up to the hospital. Like, you can be in the room. So that was a weight off my shoulders. So like I said, after I gave birth, he was sitting on the couch because he was like, I don't want to be near you. Like, I was in so much pain. I had my mom and dad crying while I was contracting and trying to push her out because I was in so much pain. So he was on the couch, and he stood up and he walked towards me once I gave birth, and he, like, was right here, up, like, kind of up above. And he was like, I'm so proud of you. Well, in this time, my OB didn't tell me that she was going to start pushing on my belly. So she starts pushing on my belly, and I wasn't numb, so I felt it, and it was a really bad pain experience. So, like, I grabbed onto his sweatshirt, and I was, like, squeezing so hard. I'm so glad I didn't grab his hand, though, or, like, his arm, because I would have hurt him. So she pushed on my belly and delivered oh, my phone's off. She delivered the placenta, and yeah, like, after that, they were like, we're going to come in, every 15 minutes and push on your belly. Now, I dreaded that because I was like, great, like, more pain. Like, I just want to relax. I want to sleep. Like, I'm so tired. But it was definitely like at this point in time with her being almost 2 months old, I'm like, absolutely no kids. I don't want no more kids. I don't want to experience that anymore. Like, I've had my feel of it. No, thank you. So, um, the nurse, sorry, the nurse kind of helped me clean up. She let me change. And I was so out of it. I was talking to the nurse while she was helping me, like, with my pad and stuff, and she was like, I was like, you guys don't get paid enough to do this. Like, you guys are literally doing all the dirty work. Like, I feel so bad that you're cleaning me up. She's like, no, we enjoy it. Like, we're okay. And I'm like, you guys need to definitely get me paid more. So I go back in bed, and, at this time, like, I'm just trying to breastfeed. I'm trying to get her to latch. I'm trying to, get myself rest, get me some food because I was so hungry. We went to McDonald's before we got to the hospital, and I got me a frappe and a breakfast sandwich, and I couldn't eat it. Like, my nerves were so out of it. I was like, I can't eat this. So I got me some, I think it was French toast and sausage, I think it was. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, it was smooth sailing. My recovery was fine, other than, I had 2 tears because she got stuck. So when the OB, like, reached in me, I tore in 2 places. I had a second-degree tear, and then I had another tear, which I'm not going to say where that tear was on YouTube. But healing process, I didn't feel the normal tear, the second-degree tear. It didn't bother me. But the other tear that I had, it hurt so bad. Like, I couldn't sit, I couldn't stand, I couldn't go to the bathroom. Like, it was bad. But me being, 7 weeks postpartum, I would say I'm healed. Just trying to, focus on me and my new baby, kind of getting us, on that routine. Now, for first time moms, the first week you come home, it is a mess, a freaking mess. My mom took a couple days off with me because, I was just, like I said, trying to get into that habit of, like a schedule with her, with the baby. But I mean, I cried for the first week nonstop. Like, I cried, that was gross. I cried, because I didn't know if I was feeding her right. I was crying because I wanted my mom with me at all times. But, I wanted her to stay the night with me and help me out. But then I was like, if I have her stay the night with me, I'm not gonna know how to do this on my own. So I kind of, was like, you can come during the day, but at nighttime, like, you can go home, you can sleep. I need to learn how to do this. Well, me and Richard need to learn how to do this. But the way my house is set up, so we have the basement, and then we have, like, the level where, like, the kitchen, living room, everything's on. Our bedroom was in the basement. Now, we had plans to move it upstairs before the baby come, but everything, didn't work out the way that I thought it was going to. So, like, I think it was so we came home on a Monday, and that Friday, Richard and his brother moved our bedroom upstairs, so I was able to, sleep in my bed, kind of get the baby to, adapt to sleeping in her bassinet and not in her playpen. I had her in this, like this off-brand DockATot, but I seen on, what was it, like the news channel, that these aren't, like, safe because the baby can suffocate, so I took her out of that and I just put her in her bassinet. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I love being a mom. I wouldn't trade it for the world. Like, now when I look back on my labor, I'm like, I would do it all again, for her, because it's so rewarding. Like, I forgot how the pain felt. I forgot about all of that. I just, once they place her on my chest, like, that's a feeling that I will never, ever, ever, ever forget. So, I mean, motherhood's great. I love it. I waited so long to be a mom. A year ago in May, I had witnessed my miscarriage, and I was, getting ready to go in for a surgical procedure because my body didn't reject the miscarriage. So I had to go in, and they had to, do a surgical procedure. So, it was definitely a rough year. But like I said, it was so worth it. But, having this baby after having a miscarriage, I had so many worries. Like, I was at the doctor's office all the time because I was checking to make sure she was okay. like her heartbeat was still there. Like I was making sure everything was fine, because when we went to our first appointment, went with our first baby, they were like, I was 8 weeks along, and I went in and they were like, there's no heartbeat. There's like, the baby hasn't grown. Like, we think this is a miscarriage. But the ultrasound tech was so mean about it. Like, she took pictures of the baby, and she was like, you know, do you want me to keep these? Or she was like, do you want to keep these or throw them away? And I was like, what? Like, we don't even know if the baby has passed yet. Like, we don't know anything. Like, you want me to come back in a week, so why are you telling me that you want to throw the baby's pictures away? Like, that just didn't sit right with me. But, I mean, you know, after a miscarriage, like, my mind just wandered. Like, it was always like, is my baby okay? Am I okay? Like, is the baby going to survive this? Or am I going to have another miscarriage? Like, a baby after a miscarriage, like a pregnancy after a miscarriage, is so, like, worrisome. I mean, I wish nobody experienced it, because it was just such a bad experience. And definitely something that we didn't want. But, you know, God works in mysterious ways, and now we have our rainbow baby, and I'm so thankful for her, and I'm not ready to have any more at this time. Ask me in a few years, maybe 3 to 4 to 5 years. Maybe we'll have a second baby. Right now, I'm not sure. But yeah, I just wanted to come on here and, you know, tell you guys my labor and delivery story. And like I said in the beginning, this was my experience. This is not everybody else's experience. You know, some epidurals work, some epidurals fail, some epidurals, you know, only work half. So, you know, just because it happened to me doesn't mean it's automatically going to happen to you. You know, labor is definitely a beautiful experience. And, you know, it's awesome. Like, it was amazing. So I think on my Instagram, I'm going to post like a Q&A. If you guys want to ask me any questions about it, or like recovery or being a new mom. But yeah, thanks for watching my video. I was going to get her, but I don't want to show her on YouTube because it's very public. So yeah, thank you for watching. I will be back with more videos. You guys have a blessed day. Thanks. Bye.